are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics. Please allow me to introduce myself. Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a Badger Bowl Game Tuesday. That means it's guaranteed great Devils.
Guaranteed. Crudy, how you doing? Evan on the board, our fair audience. Happy Tuesday.
Dominic, we've also got a fine guest, a friend of ours joining us, Todd Albaugh. He is one of the fine Civic Media hosts calling up the stable, and we get an answer from Todd Albaugh, 4:30 today, going to join us on the air. He plays out primarily in Richland Center and also up in Lake Air Country and Amory, across the Civic Media Network, 8 to 11 a.m. If you haven't tried Todd yet, give him a listen and tune in for him. Joining us at 4:30 Central Time. But Dom, I got to tell you, man, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl tonight, I was getting ready to brag all about the Civic Media streaming coverage thereof. Tune in right here. If not this one, tune in to any of our Badger flagships. And we will be playing the Badger game out in the local markets, Richland Center, WRCE. You're listening right now. And up in Wisconsin Rapids on WFHR, you're listening there as well. And up in Amory, Lake Air Country, we're playing out on that station. And the Badgers will kick off about 9:15 tonight, but no streaming coverage.
What?
For Bowdoin, apparently ESPN and the Guaranteed Rate Bowl has all the coverage. They got your television coverage, and apparently they've got your streaming coverage, and we are forbidden from streaming the game this evening. So, mea culpa. I would have done it. I'm glad somebody
I woulda, shoulda, coulda. But you can still hear it on the broadcast channel, so check it out there.
Yeah, all across the Civic Media Network. And the Marquette game, that'll be on stream. You can listen to that this evening. I don't know how excited I am for a 9 p.m. to probably 1 a.m. game. It's going to go late. Might be a little tired tomorrow.
You're getting old, Crudy. I'm sure you could take a nap tomorrow, man. You'll be okay.
I did sleep in a bit this morning. In deference to the, some of our friends are still on their Christmas break. Not us.
Yes. Working hard. Crudy, Wisconsin, giving up 4.5 points. The over-under 44.5. Are you guaranteeing a win, Crudy?
Guaranteeing? I don't know who the quarterback is. I never heard of this coach before. Half the team's in the transfer portal. And I don't know the opponent. But other than that, I'm feeling great about our chances.
All right, I'll give you 5.5.
Dominic, I am a bit of a homer. And of course, I'll be rooting for the home team, the Badgers and the Packers, playing the Vikings and eventually making it to the playoffs by killing the Detroit Lions at the end.
You gotta beat Detroit first, son.
That'll be coming. But Dom, it's pretty sad when just like one bad character is holding you back from greatness. One.
I know, but I love doing the show with you, man.
I was going to say, perhaps it was Graham Mertz. Perhaps it was Coach Paul Christ for the Badgers. The GOP caucus, Speaker Robin Voss has identified the problem. Singular. He's got one problem, and her name is Janel Brandtjen. She's been identified as the sole bad actor in the GOP caucus. Just one?
Only one, man. Just one.
We could name a half a dozen. That means you're just fine with Robin Voss. I'm looking at your buddy Shea Sortwell real hard right now.
Ram Jam, right? There's a list of them.
He's actually done. Ram Jam.
Oh, that's right. When he ran for governor.
Gubernatorial failure, his failed run. He had to give up his assembly seat, or at least chose to. But Speaker Robin Voss is feeling good about the State of the Assembly Republican Caucus. Mostly, this reporting coming from our good friend Jesse Apoyan over at the Cap Times. Here's the quote, and I chose to highlight this one. Look, we have one bad actor in our caucus. 1 out of 64 is pretty damn good. I mean, we're kind of 2 for 2, but that's a whole different story. We have some others who don't quite get the whole program.
Get with the program.
Get with the program. And I think we have the vast majority of people who are united and know that we're in the right place. We're fighting for the right cause. And by right, he literally means right, not the actual,
correct cause. Right.
And we're working as hard as we can. Now, this has been something of a no-show legislature under Robin Vos, but setting that aside, I'll continue with the quote. So I choose to focus on the positive, and that's the fact that we have great people. But he didn't mince words about that one bad actor. The Rochester Republican recently stripped Rep. Janel Brandtjen, Republican of Menominee Falls, of her post leading the Assembly Committee on Campaigns and Elections after she spent her time in the position promoting election deniers and supporting an illegal effort to decertify the 2020 presidential election. Sounds bad when you write it like that, Jesse.
Well, but here, let's pause for just one moment. I mean, Robin Vos literally did the same thing. He appointed Gableman to look into all of this, right? And just like Robin Vos appointed her to this Assembly Elections Committee, he also hired and paid Gableman for that crackpot action and later, disavowed him as well. At some point, do you have to question the hiring practices of Robin Vos?
Well, here's what really broke the camel's back in the case of Brandtjen. She also joined former President Donald Trump in actively supporting Vos's primary opponent, election denier Adam Steen.
Well, that's the bad act. Let's just put it that way.
Now Brandtjen is one of several Republicans and one Democrat running for a Senate seat in the 8th District, vacated by the retirement of Senator Alberta Darling, Republican from River Hills. Asked during a recent interview if he believes Brandtjen is fit to serve in that office, Vos gave a firm response. I don't. I would never vote for Janel Brandtjen.
But you put her on the elections committee.
It's not just the speaker who is the problem with the representative, though. Last month, Assembly Republicans voted to bar Brandtjen from their closed caucus meetings. One more, this one from a letter from caucus chair Rep. Rob Summerfield, Republican from Bloomer. Bloomer's up there by Hayward and Amory. The continual issues from the past have led our caucus to lose trust in you. For this reason, this vote was taken. Dom, E-Mode and I had a vote like that about you a little bit earlier today.
Crudy, Vos said that that's the first instance he can find of Assembly Republicans voting to tell a member they're not welcome in the caucus. Think of how bad you have to be to go to that extreme for people who are from all across the state to have that happen, Vos said. She decided these things for herself, right? She decided to focus entirely on the past and to take it out on those of us in the caucus and tried to do things that were clearly not just outside the norm, but outside the law. We can't undo an election. It's unconstitutional.
Well, not with that attitude, you can't.
For her part, Brandtjen said in a statement released last week that was no surprise Vos removed her from the post. Vos is not only known for his vindictive nature, but he also seems to have a vested interest in sweeping election concerns under the rug. In the end, Vos and his so-called leadership team can take away my committee assignments and my staff, but they cannot silence my voice, the voice that my constituents and all Wisconsinites deserve when it comes to fair and accurate elections. Although he removed her from the
certification thereof after the fact, right?
Although he removed her from committee leadership, Vos did appoint Brandtjen to 2 committees, government accountability and oversight and corrections. So she's not qualified, to be in her space, right? He would never vote for her, and she is not qualified to serve, except he appoints her to government accountability and oversight and corrections. She still represents the district. She still has 60,000 constituents she has to report to. Look, I think Rep. Brandtjen she's a bad actor. Voss said after a long pause. Speaker noted Brandtjen had lost the confidence of her colleagues for a long litany of reasons. But, she still is here. She still has an office in the Capitol, the most beautiful building in the state. And what does that have to do with it? Very Trumpy of you. She's still elected by the taxpayers. Well, by the constituents. Some of them may actually not pay taxes, like Trump. She's still on committees. She still has a chance to make a difference. So she also has a chance to not. That's her choice. So that long litany of reasons, I think there's just one on there. She joined Trump in trying to, get Voss unelected. She supported Voss's opponent. That's what it is. That's the long litany. And then you still appoint her. What are you trying to do?
Interesting headline about the Brandtjen supportive Donald Trump, the former president. Overnight, he went out rambling. He has total immunity from any kind of prosecution. Yeah. I share a few excerpts, a little reporting here from the Raw story. Dom, you know how I like it raw. Former President Donald Trump has spent the night ranting on his personal social media site about everything from a recent piece in the New York Magazine to the final report of the House Select Committee investigating the J6 attack on Congress in an attempt to overthrow the 2020 election. In the letter, nested in the non sequiturs, was the claim: number one, as president, I have total immunity. Number two, I did nothing wrong. Dominic, the committee issued 845 pages discussing all the evidence that Trump did something wrong in the claim that he has immunity as president. The claim likely won't work out in court. Former White House counsel for Richard Nixon, John Dean, called it false. Of course he has total immunity. It's the Nixon doctrine, meaning when the president does it, it's not illegal, says Dean. Interestingly, there is a doctrine of sovereign immunity that the U.S. adopted from English law, protecting a sovereign or state from criminal prosecution, but it's a fairly narrow parameters around it. It only applies to decisions that make a president, perhaps not an insurrectionist. It wasn't me, somebody else. I take absolutely no responsibility whatsoever.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Matt from Mount World. Welcome, Matt. What do you got for us?
I don't get these people, man. All these teachers are groomers and pedophiles. We need them armed to the teeth. The only way.
Right.
Is your name Jeffrey Lebowski? Because your mind is limber.
Oh,
appreciate you listening.
That's a great point, though. Yes, the teachers, they're the ones doing the indoctrination, right? The teachers are the ones that are woke. Give them guns.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Life had a remote control. You could pause or rewind. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
You are never far away from your favorite radio station. We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. And if you missed your favorite show or game, listen to a podcast of it anytime on the app or our website, civicmedia.us.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Mainly cloudy tonight with a low of 18. Winds out of the south 10 to 20 miles an hour. Highs around 37. Tomorrow, more clouds than sun. Overcast skies tomorrow night, 34. Temperatures well above average Thursday and Friday with highs from the upper 30s to the low 40s. Chance for scattered rain showers Thursday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 19 degrees.
When they go low, we get high. the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open. We'll get there shortly at 844-967-2789.
Dominic also got a fine guest joining us at the bottom of the hour, 4:30 Central Time. Civic Media host Todd Albaugh joins via Zoom, so make those calls quick. And since we're, being homers, as I often am, Dom, I want to turn my attention to, let's just say, Republican policies coming home to roost. But
all right, but I think there's a little more meat on this bone, dude, from Donald Trump and this Raw story piece. So let me just put a bow on that. A little bit more from the reporting. As Crudy mentioned before the break, there is a doctrine of sovereign immunity. Now, of course, Donald Trump claiming he has total immunity, right? But as the reporting says, it's adopted from English law, protecting a sovereign or state from criminal prosecution. As Crudy mentioned, fairly narrow parameters around it.
Prosecution or prosecution?
Prosecution. It only applies to decisions that a president makes as a president. So a policy decision or military action isn't something. It is not something. Those kinds of decisions, those are not things that can draw lawsuits against Trump personally. That is not the case, however, when it comes to things Trump did personally January 6th, and all of the things that surround the 2020 elections weren't policies enacted by a president, but the behavior of a desperate political candidate who lost. A little distinction there. As a former president, he has no immunity. There's no shield from prosecution granted by the Justice Department, as it did with Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. That's the OLC doctrine. To make matters worse, a judge already made clear Trump has no immunity. Judge Emmett Sullivan wrote, if former President Trump disrupted the certification of the electoral vote count, as plaintiffs allege here, such actions would not constitute executive action in defense of the Constitution. For these reasons, the court concludes that former President Trump is not immune from monetary damages in this suit. As they state, possible Trump knows this. That's the reason for his posting frenzy over the past week. And here's the full detail, the full on of what Trump put on his Truthy Social. Very interesting, because until recently, the political hacks and thugs of the highly partisan January 6th Unselect Committee were seldom talking about your favorite president, me, as it related to the protest of election fraud. The protest of election fraud, folks. Number one, as president, I have total immunity. Number two, I did nothing wrong. Then the committee members, mostly the same sleaze that pushed the Russia hoax, started saying that Trump did it. Even Shifty Schiff got into the act again. Sad.
Well, thank you for giving it its complete context.
I mean, absolutely. But that's the thing. So, I mean, Donald Trump thinks that he's what? And in his quotes and some other of these postings that he had out there, he still refers to himself as president. I mean, not just as president then. He still thinks in his mind in some of these comments that he's still president.
Well, that might serve his insanity defense sometime in the future, Tom. But wasn't there some evidence presented by the January 6th report that Trump effectively knew and was joking about the fact that he knew he had lost in conversations with counsel? So you can't say that Trump still thinks he's the president if he's also confessed effectively, well, of course I know I've lost, but, I'm still going to perpetrate the coup. 844-967-2789. WisGOP Paul, how you doing, fella?
Hey, Paulie.
Hey, afternoon, Devils. It's the Trump. He just never goes away. He just keeps. Actually, he digs the hole deeper for himself, but it can't be quick enough. I wish somebody would cover him up. I just get so sick of it.
Well, he's kind of in a holding pattern. He's waiting for someone else to declare for the presidency, because right now he's running against himself, right? He's waiting for DeSantis and Nikki Haley and the rest, because right now he's got this sad little Mar-a-Lago existence. He goes golfing for a couple hours, hits the buffet, and then hangs around Mar-a-Lago. Guy doesn't even drink, doesn't even pound a couple spotted cows to make the pain go away. What sort of a life is that for a human being?
Not a very good one. He doesn't deserve a good one, but I'll be pounding a couple spotted cows about 9:30. Hey, one quick one. Will Voss and the boys give Tony's appointments an up or down vote? They say they will. Do you think they'll
I don't think they will.
You guys? Oh, boy.
No. Why would they?
They can't even do something as simple as that, for goodness sake.
Why would they? They have the power.
Yeah.
They have the power to effectively. I mean, look at Brad Pfaff. Brad Pfaff was the ag secretary under Tony Evers. And as soon as Brad Pfaff tried to hold the Senate Republican leadership accountable for failing to fund the suicide hotline, Scott Fitzgerald basically said, well, we're not going to vote to appoint you. We fire you. You're no longer the ag appointee. So effectively, Wisco Paul, if any of Evers' appointee designees ever cross the Republicans, they can effectively be fired by the opposition party in real time. Seems quite fair to me. 844-967-2789. Let's sneak one more in here before our fine guest, Todd Albaugh from Civic Media. Jake from Eureka, California. Jake, welcome back.
Hey, Jake.
Hey, Kenny. Hey, so Wisco Paul said Trump never goes away. I'm going to have to differ. I think Trump is going away. It's going to Club Fed soon enough, whether he likes it or not.
Well, I hope
so
Santa grants your wish this year.
Prison, so. Well, if it's in 2023, 2024, whatever, just so long as it happens. And he's clearly guilty. I mean, nobody has to act like an hysterical idiot like Trump acts on a daily basis when they're innocent. He's 100% guilty.
You know, Jake, I believe Harvard law professor Lawrence Tribe did effectively say one of the only defenses Trump may have available to him is effectively an insanity plea. Pleading. You know, really, he's got clear culpability in the quote-unquote paperwork crimes, the stealing of classified documents, taking them to Mar-a-Lago. That, I mean, he's dead to rights on all of that stuff. The January 6th stuff, I mean, really, quite frankly, you know, you're trying to stay out of a life in prison term at this point, sir. And the real danger, and I agree with this, the real danger comes from the state charges, perhaps from Georgia or New York, because you can't pardon those away. A future Republican can't let him out of jail. Well, he's still got a few years left to golf. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. A fine guest, Todd Albaugh, Civic Media morning host around the network. If you don't know him, you'll get to know him. More Devils.
It is absolutely 150% your fault.
You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that.
Miss your favorite show? Find our entire podcast library at devilradio927.com.
ABC News, I'm Alexis Christoforous. Airlines are working to get flights back on track after thousands of cancellations this holiday week. Southwest has canceled the most flights today, more than 2,500, due to an operations meltdown. ABC's Sam Sweeney says travelers are looking at days to get another flight.
If you are able, you really should try to get out on another airline or rent a car or even take a bus if you have to.
In Buffalo, New York, residents are digging out of more than 4 feet of snow following a massive blizzard.
Hey, Todd, you with us?
I am. I'm not sure what's going on with the camera here. Can you hear me okay?
I sure can. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Let me try to... Hang on.
We'll figure it out. There we go.
Try this.
So, we doing some George Michaels on the way in here?
Whatever you want.
No, this is in different.
Let me try a different camera. I'm just going to try the built-in one. It won't be as good, but it might work better.
Okay.
This is ABC News.
Excellent. Good to see you, man.
There you go. Good to see you. Well, I'm finally tested negative for COVID, so that's good.
Nice. All right, we got just under 3 minutes.
Sweet, thank you.
Headlines. GOP Assembly Speaker Robin Vos says the state's economic development corporation called WisGOP is an abject failure at making Wisconsin competitive, so large corporations will move here. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reports that last January, Vos appointed himself to the WisGOP board, but this year removed himself because, quote, he couldn't take it anymore, unquote. WisGOP was created under former GOP Governor Scott Walker as part of his campaign promise to create 250,000 jobs. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM, WTKN, 1580 AM.
You wanted information as election results rolled in, and the Civic Media network of radio stations delivered it live.
I was so impressed with your coverage, and I listened to you guys, and I got all the coverage. It was amazing.
Civic Media, the only network with news reporters and show hosts stationed across Wisconsin, sharing political insight not found anywhere else. Elections or anytime, we are here for you, your local Civic Media radio stations, and streaming on the Civic Media app.
Join Max Inc. Radio this New Year's Eve as we present live at the Spaceship.tv. Max Inc. Radio will broadcast live from the Spaceship.tv studios 6 p.m. to midnight, plus live performances from the civil engineers. Linda and the Zeros. And Porky's Groove Machine. Live streaming video at the Spaceship.tv and live on this Civic Media station. Let's party New Year's Eve starting at 6 p.m. live from the Spaceship.tv. Happy New Year's from Civic Media and Max Inc. Radio. We are local music.
Madison, tune in every weekday from 11 to 2 on Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM for the Thom Hartmann program. Join the show's conversation because our democracy is not a spectator sport. Listen live right here on Devil Radio.
I would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. A terrific Tuesday. It's getting better all the time. We got a fine guest. One of Civic Media's own. He is Todd Albaugh of the Todd Albaugh Show right here on the Civic Media Network. Todd, I know you play on WRCE in Richland Center. I know you play on Wexy 1260 up in Lake Air Country. I don't want to forget any. What are your other
Bull Falls Radio, WXCO in beautiful Wausau as well.
Oh, yeah. We got a new facility coming there shortly. Well,
Cannot
Todd,
wait.
welcome back to our little radio endeavor here, the Devil's Advocate. Some people say, second best radio show ever.
Most people say the best. Yeah, I feel, guys, like a minor league baseball player has been called up to the big leagues for half an hour. I get to be on the flagship show, guys. Thank you so very much.
Well, you're quite welcome. And Todd, you bring a unique perspective. You've been inside the Republican caucus room, something Dom and I never have. Although I used to call Grothman, he would take my calls in caucus, which is strange.
Sure he would.
Todd, before we jump into the current cast of characters, I want to talk about one that's departed. Alberta Darling, that's Dominic's senator for many years. You were in the room. She was as partisan as anyone, was she not, Todd?
What was really interesting, I told this story on my show when she announced her retirement. I was at an event in Milwaukee at the Edelweiss Tours, a Senate Republican fundraising event, back when Mike Ellis was the leader for the Republicans, and Alberta was running in 92 for the position, and 92 or 94, I can't remember which, but it was the year she was a candidate. And Alberta, people remember this, she was a pro-choice Republican when she first ran. She was one of the most moderate people to run on the Republican ticket. And my old boss, Dale Schultz, and I were there for this event, and we were walking by the coat closet at the Edelweiss boat tours in downtown Milwaukee. And Mike Ellis, who was about 5'8" on a good day, had Alberta backed up, who was probably 5'10", into her mink coat on a hanger, giving it to her, telling her how she had to be more conservative in order to win this race. Now, fast forward till now, and you're absolutely right. She morphed into one of the most conservative senators on the bench. Was that because she really believed it all? Or was it because she wanted to stay in power and be reelected? I guess that's only for her to make the call. But it was very interesting to see. You guys will remember, it was Alberta Darling, Carol Bittner Ressler, Mary Panzer, Peg Rosenzweig, was a caucus of Republican women, all pro-choice at one time in the Republican Senate in the state of Wisconsin.
Wow.
And it's changed. And now we've got a fine batch of new Republican up and comers seeking to, to take Alberta's former Senate seat. We got, Dan Cadodal. We got Dominic's girl, Janel Brandtjen. Did you see the recent headlines? Robin Voss said, we only got one bad apple in the whole caucus. And he gave her the Assembly Elections Committee gavel the last time through, but now she's a bad one. What do you think about this Janel Brandtjen character?
Well, first of all, I was disappointed. I'm honest. I'm being honest about this. I thought Dom would have made a great candidate and be a great state senator. I respect that you enjoy radio just like I do, but I think you would have been a great candidate, Dom. So
thanks, man.
Less so on the senator category.
Oh, but I tell people all the time. I mean, Dom is intelligent. People would say, Todd, didn't you see a lot of wrongdoing and illegality? And I said, actually, no, there isn't so much corruption in state government as people might think. It's the incompetence that would blow you away. So, I mean, compared to a lot of people there, Dom would have been head and shoulders above the rest. But back to your question, I think this is super interesting. When it first came out, I thought Republicans, of course, are going to hang on to the seat. But now with the Brandtjen in there, there's a good chance in a low turnout election that she gets the Trump base out there, and if Trump endorses her, who knows? She could come through that primary, and the Dem candidate might have an actual legit shot at winning this race.
Well, one of the 3 districts was won by Deb Andrinka. That's not the candidate. But you got a very divided Republican field. You got a short turnaround. I believe February 21st will be the primary. I mean, a week from Friday, we're in the political window, boys. And then we've got a general election, 6 weeks after that on April 4th. So, of course, that's going to be a quick turnaround. And I would say in this low turnout election, I would hope the Dem has a fighting chance. Wisconsin Supreme Court race. That's the really interesting one. That's the one where we're going to put most of our attention. Obviously, we've got a couple of Democratic supported candidates in Everett Mitchell and Janet Protasewicz. And we've also got a couple of fine examples of conservatism in Dan Kelly, the former Wanker appointee to the court, who lost to Karofsky by 163,000 votes. What a fine candidate he makes. And celebrity Waukesha Christmas Parade judge Jennifer Darrow, whose major claim to fame is, she's right there with Mandela Barnes on bail reform. So it's going to play out in an interesting fashion. I think it's going to be a bloodbath in the primary.
I do too. I hope I'm coming through. My internet kind of froze up there. I'm used to doing the show from home in the morning, but different bandwidth in the afternoon. But I think you're absolutely right, Crudy. And again, what I've heard from, I don't have a lot of Republicans that still talk to me, but still some. And I think one of the things Republicans are really concerned about conservatives is you might see, there's a possibility for both the progressive candidates to get through the primary and not even have a conservative when it comes to the general election for this race.
That seems unlikely. How does that math work out, Todd? I mean, the conservatives are going to get out theirs. I can't imagine that we're going to see such a robust turnout that both liberals are going to crest over both conservatives. How does that math work? Must have lost him. Todd, I hope you can still hear us. We are the Devil's Advocates. We're trying to do an interview with Todd Albaugh.
So, am I back?
Civic Media host. And I was just contradicting you on the radio, Todd, as I'm prone to do.
No, I think it's fine.
That dog don't hunt. You're not going to get too liberal, sir.
I think what the concern is by Republicans is if Democrats really turn out the world in Dane and Milwaukee County like they have been, and if people in the rural areas just go to sleep and don't turn out, then the numbers are there. But it would take a near general election type of turnout in Dane and Milwaukee County and very low turnout in the outlying areas. But it's a possibility.
If only we had a platform to speak in those communities.
Right. If only.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Todd Albaugh, one of those guys speaking out on the platform around the state. Todd, thanks for being here, man. I want to get your sense, being a former insider, I'll call you, from years ago, the good old days of the Republican Party, the GOP, as it compares to now. I've been fond of saying that the GOP is in disarray, and I think Robin Voss is trying to put a good shine on it, referring to Janel Brandtjen as being the only bad apple, but there's more rot in that caucus, I think, than just her. How does this compare to, from your recollection, of the Republicans from decades ago?
Well, you guys have talked about it on your show. I've talked about it on my show. I know that Matt's talked about it on his show as well. There was a time in the state, even 15 years ago, that Republicans and Democrats, they'd fight like heck on the floor of the Senate or the Assembly, and then they could walk 6 blocks down East Washington Avenue to the Avenue bar and sit there and have
drinks. What Todd's saying is they would have drinks together, these colleagues from across the aisle. Dom, I'm not sure if this exercise is seeming like an exercise in futility, but Todd, if you can hear me, you let me know, okay, fella? No, Todd.
No, Todd.
Todd?
Man.
I don't know what's going on, guys. I'm sorry.
Last we heard, the Dems and Republicans were getting drunk together at the Avenue bar.
Yeah, it happened all the time. But Mike Ellis is one of the characters. I mean, you had Democrats as well that would go and they'd say, "Geez, you really got me on the floor." They'd have a couple of drinks and say, "Okay, what are we actually going to do?" And Tommy Thompson was famous for that when he was governor of when he was the Republican leader of the Assembly. But it really began, in my opinion, in '94 with Jensen on the Democrat side in the state Senate, and Republican side, the state Assembly, Jensen and Koala on the Democratic side in the Senate. Well, they they forbade their new freshman members from even having said, "Hey, if we see you have a drink with someone or dinner from the other."
Todd Albaugh, one of the fine hosts on the Civic Media Network. But Todd, man, you got to work on that interwebs, dude. Mornings are best. Apparently, tune in for him across the network at 8 to 11 a.m. on the Civic Media Network. He's given a lot of fine coverage of late, especially on the topic of UW-Richland Center. And I want to get to that with Todd today. Let's just take him on the phone here real quick. Todd, before we run out of time, man, and thanks for bearing with our bad producer or whoever the gremlins are to play.
It's not the producer.
Let me ask you, man, UW-Richland Center, this is one of the localized stories. That's a community you've lived in for a long time, Todd. Tell people what's going on there and why Republicans broke the UW two-year campus system for the benefit of the four-year schools.
About a month ago, over the Thanksgiving holiday, UW system President Jay Rothman announced with interim Chancellor Platteville, their Chancellor Tammy Ivanovich, they were planning on essentially closing the UW-Richland two-year campus. And the reason this is important to all of our listeners across the state is because there's two-year campuses in Barron County, just outside of Amory, in Marathon County, outside of Wausau, 13 of these, across the state. And so this does affect everybody. They essentially are going to close this campus, but the problem is that there's no rationale for this. The system says, well, it's because of declining enrollment and low numbers. But at every turn, the system has done everything they can to cut the dean, to cut the full-time recruiter, to cut the assets, including the local foundation at Richland Center had $600,000 in the bank, said to Platteville, we'll pay for our own recruiter, and Platteville said no. And nobody from system to Platteville to our state legislators, including State Senator Howard Markline, Republican, third most powerful person in the state legislature, co-chair of the powerful Joint Finance Committee, which writes all the checks to the state budget, nobody can get these answers except Civic Media's own Ron Fruit, the Al Michaels of Civic Media up at Richland Center, who got Howard Markline on his show and put Howard on the spot and asked Howard these extra surpluses that the university had that you Republicans made them give up. Ron asked, quote, was that money that the campuses could have used? Howard wouldn't answer. He said, quote, I don't know any more than you do. And then here's the kicker that really made news on Civic Media and got Civic Media and the statewide media in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Howard Markline said for the first time, quote, I would be concerned if I were one of the other two-year campuses and the other member of the Joint Finance Committee, Tony Kurtz, Republican from Waukesha in southwest Wisconsin, agreed with him. So on Civic Media, Republicans made news by admitting that this is not going to be the first campus. And I'm telling you guys, I was in those rooms, those caucus rooms, and there is a war on education, and particularly liberal arts education in the state, and they're bringing it, and it is going to come to every part of this state. This is not unique and the first one. Republicans are coming for education. They already came with Scott Walker and Act 10 for public education K-12. Next is going to be higher education, and Richland Center is the first shot across the bow.
Well, I really enjoyed, and I was actually in Amory. I was listening to your show. I listened to the interview with Howard Markline and his answers over with Ron Fruit on WXEO, the sister station in Richland Center, completely inadequate. And he is literally, is he not the Joint Finance Committee co-chair, or is he just on the committee?
He is the co-chair, Crudy. He is the third most powerful legislator in the state behind only Devin Lebahue, the Senate Majority Leader, and Robin Voss, the Assembly Speaker. If he wanted to, he could have a motion in that committee to fully restore the funding for the Richland campus.
Well, he didn't even seemingly want to acknowledge it was going on. It was like, how can we keep him on the farm? It's a crappy place to live. And I'm thinking that doesn't seem like a very strong argument for governance, Howard Markline. Todd Albaugh.
Well, and thanks to you guys for letting us have this opportunity to explore this topic.
Well, I know it's important, not just in Richland County, but around the state. A lot of two-year campuses in jeopardy. Todd Albaugh, tune in, starting with WRCE. News from the center from Richland Center. Find him on the Civic Media app and around the state in a lot of fine markets. Todd Albaugh, 8 to 11 a.m. Buddy, happy holidays. We'll talk real soon.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome to the party, pal. I love this song.
Thanks, guys. Sorry about the internet. Apologize.
That's all right, man. Thanks, dude.
Good to see you.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Aaron Mostovsky, who rioted at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, was dressed as Captain Caveman. QAnon shaman meets Law and Order.
Right. I mean, he pulled it off a whole lot better than Aaron Mostovsky.
Well, let me read a quote from the judge in this case. I hope you'll leave some of this fantasy world behind. Mostovsky was sentenced to 8 months in prison.
Looking at the guy, he might be one who loses his mattress on the first day. Breaking news.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
I love this song. I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Mainly cloudy skies expected tonight with a low of 19. South winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. Tomorrow, highs level off around 37. Lows around 34 tomorrow night. Cloudy skies expected. Low 40s Thursday with a chance for scattered rain showers. Upper 30s, a blend of clouds and sun Friday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 19 degrees.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
And And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open 844-967-2789.
Dominic, want to thank our most recent guest, part of the Civic Media family, Todd Albaugh, host of the Todd Albaugh Show, 8 to 11 a.m., originating from WRCE News from the Center, Richland Center, and around the state on the Civic Media Network, and of course, worldwide on the Civic Media app. That's how the real patriots listen. But Dom, since we brought up, Richland Center, I've got a little bit of news I had missed. You know that former Republican Party chair, Andrew Hitt, lawyer, guy from Richland Center, hometown boy, Todd's hometown.
Yeah, wasn't he one of the fraudulent electors?
He was. And he also has subsequently stepped down as the chairman of the Republican Party. Got to spend more time with his partners over at Michael Best. And here is the headline. These guys are up to no good. Wisconsin fake elector fretted plan would fail miserably. According to the reporting of Lawrence Andrea at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. How did we miss this one yesterday, Dom? A former President Trump campaign was forming a plan to send alternative slates, fraudulent slates of electors to Congress. Then Republican Party Wisconsin chairman Andrew Hitt quietly worried. I'm committing fraud here. I'm quietly worried. That's not exactly what he's quoted here as saying. I am deaf concerned about their inquiry, Hitt texted the state GOP executive director, Mark Jefferson, when he learned of the plot that followed Trump's 2020 election loss. I hope they're not planning on asking us to do anything like try and say we're the only proper electors. Because apparently if they asked, you'd be more than willing to commit that fraud, Andrew Hitt. A little bit more. These guys are up to no good, and it's going to fail miserably. He texted a colleague on December 12th, 2020, yet he still went through with it.
He sure did. Yep. Good soldier.
After receiving a message about discussing the fake elector plan with Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani. Rudy is a hell of a dynamic speaker, is he not, Tom? He convinced Andrew Hitt, an attorney and partner at Michael Best and Friedrich. He convinced you that, we're not really up to no good. As the reporting notes, Tom, still Hitt and 9 other Wisconsin Republicans would meet in the state capitol 2 days later to sign false paperwork, which I would call a crime, Dom, claiming to be Trump electors. At the same time, the state's real electoral college members gathered to deliver Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes to Joe Biden. And let's not forget that was after, same day, but after the Wisconsin Supreme Court had ruled 4-3 not to take up the Trump appeal. Effectively, they had closed the door on any other avenue to change the outcome of the Wisconsin election. And as it's reported here, Don, the new details revealed Thursday night in a final report from the House committee investigating the J6 attack on the U.S. Capitol provided additional insight into the thoughts and actions of one of Wisconsin's false electors as Trump and his allies put in place a pressure campaign to overturn Biden's presidential victory. And the report lays out a roadmap for the plan to institute the false electors in Wisconsin and other key swing states that began with a November 18th memo from attorney Kenneth Cheeseborough, shared in part with, have you ever heard of Jim Troupas, Tom?
I have, yes. I recall that guy.
Didn't he also work for the Trump recall efforts here in the state of Wisconsin? And wasn't he also hired or paid off by your boy, Ron Johnson?
Well, only after Troupas reached out to Johnson to help, pass along these fraudulent electors, which Johnson endeavored to do.
Dominic, that plan concluded on January 6th when staff for Wisconsin Republican U.S. Senator Ron Johnson and Pennsylvania Republican U.S. Rep. Mike Kelly worked to give Vice President Mike Pence packets of false electors from Wisconsin and Michigan minutes before Congress was scheduled to certify Biden's victory. Pence rejected those efforts, but Rojo didn't, and Troupas didn't, and Andrew Hitt was a signatory on the thing. So even though, if you know they're up to no good, and you're a lawyer by trade, Are you going to be convinced by Rudy Giuliani to go, commit a crime on behalf?
You know they're up to no good. You think it's going to fail. You're concerned that they're going to present your slate as the only actual slate, which is seemingly what Rudy wanted to do. Yeah, why would you go along with that? Oh, yeah, it's right, because this is a political game in their mind, and this was all politics. And to them, politics, they're all totally fine with overturning the will of the majority of voters. That's a little fascistic, in my opinion. Crudy recounts court rulings and nonpartisan audits have confirmed Biden's 2020 victory over Trump in Wisconsin by about 21,000 votes. A quote from the committee in its final report: "Those fake electoral votes, which the Trump team tried for weeks to manufacture and deliver, never made it to the vice president. But they would have been invalid even if they did arrive on time." Hitt stepped down from the GOP chair in July of 21. He did not immediately respond to a message asking for comment. He was subpoenaed along with Kelly Rue, a chairman of the 8th Congressional District GOP, to testify in front of the committee last January. He said at the time the alternate electors, fraudulent, how about that, were simply following the guidance of Wisconsin legal counsel, and told the January 6th committee he would not have supported the use of paperwork to overturn the election illegitimately.
But you did.
That's exactly what you did.
You were also a Wisconsin lawyer. Andrew Hitt, your senior counsel at Michael Best and Friedrich. It's hard to claim ignorance of the law.
Thursday's sweeping report of the events that led to the Capitol insurrection at the U.S. Capitol also details a plot from Trump and his allies to pressure state officials. The effort, which the committee report indicates was written down in a so-called strategic communication plan that claimed the focus of campaign included swing state Republican senators and Republican Senate members of the House in swing states like Wisconsin. According to the committee, Wisconsin Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and Republican U.S. Rep. Scott Fitzgerald were listed as targets of a similar plan. Vos met with the January 6th committee in late November to discuss a phone call with Trump made in July, asking the Rochester Republican to overturn the results of the 2020 election. He said his meeting with the committee was brief.
When asked in early December about Vos's deposition, January 6th committee chairman Benny Thompson told the Journal Sentinel the conversation wasn't short. He declined to elaborate further.
I have not yet seen any release of transcripts from the Vos January 6th interview.
One bad apple in the GOP caucus, Tom.
Only one, according to Vos.
And then what happens to the apple when there's a bad apple, Dom?
Rots all the other ones, Crudy. Nasty.
Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. We're going to celebrate the Happier Happy Hour. It's a Badger Bowl Tuesday. I'm feeling fairly festive, except for the blackout of the stream on the fine Civic Media outlets for Badger football. But anyways, man, we'll get through it. And your phone calls could be a big part of making me feel a little happier. Next hour, 844-967-2789. We'll be right back. I hope you are as well.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
It's so bad!
You wanted information as election results rolled in, and the Civic Media network of radio stations delivered it live.
I was so impressed with your coverage. And I listened to you guys, and I got all the coverage. It was amazing.
Civic Media, the only network with news reporters and show hosts stationed across Wisconsin, sharing political insight not found anywhere else. Elections or anytime, we are here for you. Your local Civic Media radio stations and streaming on the Civic Media app.
Do you love getting rewards when you shop? Then shop Knucklehead CBD and vapes with the Knuckleheads Club. Every $10 spent gets you closer to 25% off. No matter what you buy, make sure you buy Knuckleheads. Stop in Saturday and Sunday and get 15% off Wellness and Wellness Plus, including Delta 8, THCP, CBD, and more, while getting points towards your next purchase. Knucklehead CBD and vapes, your one-stop smoke shop, located at 520 State Street in Madison. No matter what you buy, make sure you buy Knuckleheads.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court granted the request of 19 Republican-led states to stop Title 42 from expiring. That means the pandemic health rule could stay in place. It lets border agents expel asylum seekers due to COVID concerns. The court expected to review arguments in February on whether states can intervene in those lower court decisions. Flight cancellations still building on this holiday travel week. Southwest canceling the majority of flights today as it deals with an operations meltdown, leaving passengers stuck at airports. ABC's Sam Sweeney with more.
Southwest today has canceled 2,500 flights alone, the same number for tomorrow, and it was several thousand yesterday as well. This is a meltdown like we've never seen before.
The Biden administration saying it will investigate. Another round of lake effect snow in store for hard-hit western New York, reeling from the deadliest blizzard in at least 50 years. This is ABC News. Today was sentencing day for one of the men convicted in the plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Convicted criminal Adam Fox has been sentenced to 16 years in prison, avoiding a life sentence in the failed kidnapping plot against Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Prosecutors say Fox was the co-leader of the anti-government plot to abduct the governor, blow up a bridge as part of the escape plan, and kill anyone who stood in their way in the lead-up to the 2020 presidential election. A second man convicted in the conspiracy case will be sentenced on Wednesday. Faith Abube, ABC News, Washington.
The president and first lady fly to St. Croix, which is part of the U.S. Virgin Islands, a kind of stay-at-home in the U.S. vacation with far warmer temperatures than his current Pennsylvania Avenue residence. Mr. Biden will be the first U.S. president to visit that U.S. territory since Harry Truman stopped by in 1948. Mega Millions jackpot tonight, now $565 million. It is the sixth largest in the history of the game. Andy Field, ABC News.
Devil Radio, your fix for progressive news talk from Black Earth to Columbus. Always streaming at DARNWI.com.
You've merely made radio your ally. I was born on the radio. Devil Radio, 92.7.
For Civic Media, I'm Terry Bell with this news. Wisconsin gained 12,000 people in the last year. The U.S. Census Bureau speculates people are moving to Wisconsin for job opportunities, the lower cost of living, or the slower pace of life. Wisconsin's cost of living is 4% lower than the national average. Officials say there aren't enough workers to fill job openings here. More people died in Wisconsin than were born here for the second year in a row. A death investigation is underway in central Wisconsin after a teenager's body was found near a walking path north of Stevens Point yesterday. Police say it looks like murder. The autopsy is being done at the state crime lab in Madison. In sports, the Luke Fickell era begins as the Badgers take on Oklahoma State in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl tonight. Also tonight, Marquette hosts Seton Hall. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM, WTTN 1580 AM.
You wanted information as election results rolled in, and the Civic Media network of radio stations delivered it live.
I was so impressed with your coverage. And I listened to you guys, and I got all the coverage. It was amazing.
Civic Media, the only network with news reporters and show hosts stationed across Wisconsin, sharing political insight not found anywhere else. Elections or anytime, we are here for you, your local Civic Media radio stations, and streaming on the Civic Media app.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds?
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner. Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmedicine.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Do you want Wisconsin to suck? I don't. That's why you're listening to me now. I'm Hawk, owner of Hawk's Bar and Grill. Come to Hawk's on State and tell them you're there because the devil sent you. Then I can spend more money on ads and help Devil Radio keep Wisconsin from spiraling into post-apocalyptic Republican suckage. I mean, that's Iowa's job. Buy a round of Hawks and save Wisconsin one drink at a time.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
Okay.
When you're having computer problems, you need a company you trust to get things working again, quickly and affordably. Madison Computer Works has been doing that for business and residential customers for decades. Our computer care plans take away the hassle of being without your computer or needing to bring it in for repair. Starting at only $10 a month, our local and friendly techs provide remote help and can fix most problems in just minutes. Our computer care plans are the perfect holiday gift. Call 608-231-8000 and sign up today. Madison Computer Works, computers that work for you.
The Devil's Advocates.
Today, I made a mental note. It was 1:09 Central Time when I found out Brandtjen was a conspirator in a coup, a traitor to the Constitution, and Ron's been something of an apologist. You know, they seem real friendly. Well, maybe to you, Ron, because you were on the inside of the coup, and I've never made that accusation prior to today. So let's play it for the people.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
This is the radio station you were looking for. Devil Radio 92.7. It surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds the world together.
Help me.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday happy hour. It's always happier up in here with your phone calls, 844-967-2789. But before we go to them, Dom, I got to ask you a question.
What's that, Crudy?
Did you ever fluff up your resume just a little bit, try to get a job that maybe you weren't entirely competent or old?
No, man. No, dude. No, I mean, when you do a resume, I mean, that stuff should be verifiable, right? I mean, that's kind of the point. You don't just put something down and then just assume that there's not going to be any investigation or verification of employment. Hell, if nothing else, just, days worked. Or what was the time frame? Can you actually just confirm employment? Something simple like that.
Yeah, but there's occasionally a politician that'll claim they graduated from a certain college when maybe they were a couple of credits short, or they're an alumni of Marquette when maybe they quit. You know what I mean? There's sort of lies. I'm telling you mostly the truth.
Would you hire people like that? I mean, if you found that out, right? Maybe you make an offer and then you find out after the fact that they're lying about their, I don't know, education. Well, probably one of the reasons you hired a person is because of what they presented as their education, as their background, as their experience, right? And if those things turn out to not be true, then the person you're hiring is not the person you're hiring.
Well, Dominic, I've always been full disclosure. I graduated the esteemed University of Wisconsin-La Crosse.
As did I.
With a Mass Comm degree with 118 credits. Despite the requirement for graduation being 118.5 credits, I blew off gym class, man. So I really shouldn't have that diploma on the wall, but I'm claiming I'm a graduate. I'm not going back for gym class. 844-967-2789. If you're listening today, I'd be curious. You ever lied on your resume? Did you ever fluff her up a bit? What are rules? Kelsey from Madison. Welcome, Kelsey. What do you got for us?
Hey, Kelsey.
Well, thank you, Crudy. It's your daughter calling in to give all your dirty laundry.
All right. You have the floor, Kelsey.
Well, Kelsey, I'm nearly unemployable. That's why I've been self-employed for so very long.
That's why he's his own boss. He got kicked out of the Chinese restaurant one too many times.
Didn't get fired from that joint. You know why, Kelsey? Did I ever tell you why? I set my alarm to get
I
up
can
for.
make a guess, but I don't think it's air appropriate.
I got hammered drunk the night before, set my alarm to get up for a Bill Clinton rally in La Crosse, and my alarm went off at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, whenever I would have had to get up early to go see Bill Clinton before work. So I turned off my alarm, and I was supposed to be at work by 11. I showed up around noon, and I was fired.
That's funny. I know what story you're leading to, and I can proudly say for the first time, well, I've always thought I was more qualified than a Republican, but now I can actually say that I have a higher education than a Republican out there. So I feel pretty good about that.
You are qualified to be.
Apparently, my beauty school gave me more education than some may say.
And this appearance on talk radio, Kelsey, qualifies you to be damn near anything in life.
Dream big, sister.
Successful young lady.
Oh, yeah.
So you're just killing time with the old man on the radio, Kels, or what are you doing?
Yeah. I got stuck doing a drop-off here, and your voice was on the radio, and I was like, what the hell? I know this guy. I'll call and harass him.
Now, are you driving Grandma's car, or are you driving one of the family mobiles?
I'm driving the family car. I did the Culver's run and the movie theater drop-off, and here I am, sitting in the car, talking shit.
Oh, and you just got dumped, Kelsey. Sorry, hon. This ain't serious. You see where I get it from, though, Dom?
I see where she gets it from.
So nice when the family can conspire together to see if I can lose my FCC license on a otherwise quiet Tuesday afternoon here. So, anyways, I hope she makes it through the Culver's drive-through. Of course, young lady, that one.
844-967-2789. You can join us as well. Be FCC compliant. We like that around here.
Dom, let's talk about George Santos, Republican rep-elect George Santos. He's a guy that's, let's just say, fluffed her up a bit. George Santos faces growing condemnation as House GOP leadership remains silent. You see the contrast, Dom? Like, the Democrats are calling for his resignation because he pretty much made up his whole freaking resume. But Republican leadership's like, Kevin McCarthy at this point needs that guy's vote.
Right.
That guy could be voting from a jail cell, and Kevin McCarthy's going to welcome him to the Congress. Little of the reporting. I'm going to start with CNN. GOP Rep-elect George Santos is facing growing condemnation from House Democrats, some of whom have called him to step aside, and even from some corners of the GOP, with at least one of his fellow incoming Republicans calling for him to face an ethics investigation. Yeah, at the minimum, right? House GOP leadership, however, remains silent over revelations that the New York Republican lied about parts of his biography.
Like all parts?
Substantial parts, I would say, Dom, but I read on. Santos has admitted to fabricating sections of his resume, including his past work experience and education.
Minor sections, not like where you lived and,
and has apologized, but says he intends to serve in Congress. Of course he does. He needs the dues, right, Dom? Democratic Rep. Joaquin Castro of Texas and Ted Lieu of California were among those calling on Santos after the congressman-elect gave interviews acknowledging embellishing his resume to resign, and if he refuses, for the House to expel him. Expel him, I say. Castro called for Santos to be investigated by authorities and argued if the New York Republican is allowed to serve in Congress after lying about his resume, here's a quote, Tom, there will be more who seek office up and down the ballot who will believe that they can completely fabricate credentials, personal features, and accomplishments to win office. I thought that's how you won office as a Republican, Dom.
I won the Nobel Prize.
More here, Dom? Should we?
I want to get to. There's a previous article also regarding this from CNN. Some of the details. He admitted. This is George Santos. admitted in 2 separate interviews Monday to lying about parts of his resume, but claimed he hasn't committed any crimes and intends to serve in Congress. He faced scrutiny over discrepancies in his employment and education history, as well as other public claims he made about his biography. In an interview with WABC Radio and the New York Post, the first time Santos has spoken publicly about the controversy, he acknowledged that he fabricated some facts. I am not a criminal. When you start with that,
that's the non-fabricated part. Like,
I am not a criminal, not here, not abroad, not in any jurisdiction in the world have I ever committed any crimes, he said in an interview with WABC host. To get down to the nit and gritty, I am not a fraud. I am not a criminal who defrauded the entire country and made up this fictional character and ran for Congress. I've been around a long time. I mean, a lot of people know me. They know who I am. They've done business dealings with me.
He's kind of a big deal, Don.
Yeah, my office smells of rich mahogany. I have many leather-bound books. He goes on. I'm not going to make any excuses for this, but a lot of people overstate their resumes or twist a little bit. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of that. He also admitted he never worked directly for the financial firms Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, as he previously suggested, but claimed he did do work for them through his company, telling the New York Times it was a poor choice of words to say he worked for them. He also told the Post he didn't graduate from any college or university, despite claiming he had degrees from Brock College in New York and New York University. Another quote, I didn't graduate from any institution of higher learning. I'm embarrassed and sorry for having embellished my resume, he told the Post, adding that he owns up to that and we do stupid things in life. He told WABC, I want to make sure that if I disappointed anyone by resume embellishment, I am sorry. The New York Times first revealed last week Santos' biography appeared to be partially fiction. CNN confirmed details of that report, including about his college education and employment history, or lack of college education and fabricated employment history. CNN's K-File also reported last week that claims by Santos that his grandparents survived the Holocaust as Ukrainian Jewish refugees from Belgium who changed their surname are contradicted by sources including family trees compiled by genealogy websites, records on Jewish refugees, and interviews with multiple genealogists. A lawyer for Santos declined comment for CNN. I never claimed to be Jewish, Santos told the Post. I'm Catholic. Because I learned my maternal family had a Jewish background, I said I was Jew-ish. I'm not Jewish, I'm Jew-ish. It's like semi-fascistic. Santos said he was very proud of his Jewish heritage as recently as late November 22 in an appearance with the Jewish News Syndicate. So, guys, totally BSing his background. Didn't work for Citi, didn't work for Goldman, never went to college. I mean, this is fraud. And how is this coming out now?
Did you also hear he was a heavy investor in his own congressional campaign? Although he may have committed some wire fraud and defrauding others about his credentials. This reporting from the Washington Post. Santos told City and State New York that after different jobs, he opened his own firm and it just worked because I had relationships and I started making a lot of money and I fundamentally started building wealth. I decided I'd invest in my race for Congress. There's nothing wrong with that. Santos also suggested that soon-be colleagues in Congress could not withstand any such scrutiny, saying if members of the media dig deep on other lawmakers' deepest secrets, then we wouldn't have a single congressman in the House. And we wouldn't have a single senator in the Senate. Oh, if only Madison Cawthorn could invite you to the coke orgies. More devils.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates radio show, the last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up right now for your crudités at 844-967-2789.
I thought they were Crudy takes.
Crudy's takes. See, man, it all comes back around to Sports Talk Live.
Something like that.
My wife wants some vegetables for crudité.
You know what I mean?
Listen Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for the Devil's Advocates radio show.
What grows in the forest? Our imagination and our family bonds. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Fear you may be missing out? We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. Enjoy listening live or catch up by finding the podcast at civicmedia.us or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Mainly cloudy skies expected tonight with a low of 19. South winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. Tomorrow, highs level off around 37. Lows around 34. Tomorrow night, cloudy skies expected. Low 40s Thursday with a chance for scattered rain showers. Upper 30s, a blend of clouds and sun Friday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 20 degrees.
60% of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Go to the phones shortly at 844-967-2789. George Santos. Don't call him George Soros. He's not Jewish. He's Jew-ish. The New York Times has just a little breakdown here. I'd like to go over the headlines here. What we know and don't know about the representative-elect George Santos. Couple of things. Number one, Santos did not work where he said he did. Problematic. We talked about that. Santos did not graduate from the schools he said he had. Also not good. Santos said he's not Jewish so much as Jew-ish. Okay, pretty terrible. Santos, a men's story on the Pulse nightclub shooting. After he won the election, Santos, who says he is gay, again, you got to question everything now, claimed to have lost 4 employees at the 2016 shooting at Pulse, a gay club in Orlando, a claim for which the Times could find no evidence. During an interview on WABC Radio, Santos said that those 4 employees, quote unquote, did not actually work for his Florida company. Rather, those 4 employees were in the process of being hired. We did lose 4 people that were going to be coming to work for the company that I was starting up in Orlando. Really? And what is your industry, sir? Santos denied committing any crimes. We talked about that. Here's another one. Santos does not own 13 properties. What? During his most recent congressional campaign, Santos cast himself and his family as the owners of 13 properties. He also suggested that he was a beleaguered landlord whose tenants were unjustly withholding rent. Pretty specific, right? His tenants aren't paying. On Monday, he said he and his family owns property. He said his family owns property, but he does not. Quote, George Santos does not own any properties, he told the Post. You know, very Trumpy referring to himself in the third person. And finally, and perhaps the most important part of this, the sources of Mr. Santos's $700,000 campaign loan remain unclear. Though Mr. Santos' adulthood has been marked by a trail of unpaid debt to landlord and creditors, in 2021 and 2022, he lent $700,000 to his congressional campaign, according to federal campaign finance documents. Pardon. It remains unclear where that money came from. Santos continues to claim it originated with his work at the DeVolder organization, which he described as a consulting firm to city and state. Santos has disclosed little about the operation of his company, and the Times could find no property or public-facing assets linked to the firm.
You know, I think of a couple of classic movies. Stripes. Are you gay? No, but I'm willing to learn.
Try.
Something like that. I paraphrase. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. And the other one that comes to mind, Spaceballs. He doesn't look Jewish. Another quick headline. Then the phone said 844-967-2789. Republican Jewish Coalition says George Santos not welcome at events after revelations. He's been blackballed, Dom. No more reindeer games? Menorah games? The Republican Jewish Coalition on Tuesday said Rep-elect George Santos deceived the organization and misrepresented his Jewish heritage, adding the incoming lawmakers no longer welcome at its events. CEO Matt Brooks said he was disappointed in Santos. Aren't we all a little disappointed in Santos after the congressman-elect admitted to embellishing key facts about his life in 2 separate interviews on Monday? A little bit, a quote here from Brooks. He deceived us and misrepresented his heritage in public comments, and to us personally, he previously claimed to be Jewish. He has begun his tenure in Congress on a very wrong note. He will not be welcome at any future RJC reindeer events.
Wow.
I would suspect actually the Jewish Coalition, they don't believe in the reindeers either. No Jesus, no Santa, no reindeers, I would guess. And they don't believe much in George Santos either. Matt from Minneapolis, we believe in you, man. Listen on AM 950, I suspect. What do you got for us?
Hey, Matt.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on
Hello?
with you, man?
Yeah, man, what's going on with you?
On a Tuesday.
I want to congratulate you guys for not doing a best of show like every other person on this radio station I'm listening to up here.
This is real stuff, man. We're live. We're doing it live. We got nowhere else to go, man.
Well, let's talk about ish. ISH. Anytime you hit on a woman in a bar and she doesn't dig you, it's ish.
Ish?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like
they go ish.
Sort of as a recoil, I think. You find,
like meh.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That's an up north thing, you know.
Ish.
But
the women
anyway,
or no, I thought they would probably respond to you, man.
Yeah or no?
Well, I do have one thing that happened to me as far as my resume goes. When I was in 7th grade, I had the longest hair in my junior high school, and my gym teacher, who looked like Sergeant Carter, could not stand me, and so he expelled me for gym for the rest of the junior high school for 2 years. So I get into high school, right, and my counselor pulls me aside and says, "You've only had 1 year of gym class." And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, you got to have 1 more year of gym in order to graduate." So she put me in an all-girl yoga class.
It sounds like it was a happy ending, man.
It was the best gym class I ever had in my life.
Buddy, I blew off Coach Terry's tennis class. I dropped it, but in my own defense, in my own college graduation, half a credit short defense, I did audit basketball with Charlie Gross because Bobby Poole was in the class, and I would go play basketball with the basketball coach while he taught a class, but I didn't have the good sense to do it for credit.
So you sat in and did it, but didn't get credit for it.
I
Sounds
played
very George Santos, Crudy, I got to tell you. I'm not sure
Charlie-
you're actually even on radio right now.
So I can say anything like Kelsey does? Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. You're listening right now. We're doing it live. This is not pre-recorded, I assure you. Come on back to Happier Happy Hour. Your phone calls could be next. 844-967-2789.
I'm staying in school.
The best is yet to come.
In time, you will know the true power of Devil Radio 92.7. It is your destiny.
ABC News, I'm Andy Field. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court granted the request of 19 Republican-led states to stop Title 42 from expiring. That means the pandemic health rule could stay in place. It lets border agents expel asylum seekers due to COVID concerns. The court expected to review arguments in February on whether states can intervene in those lower court decisions. Flight cancellations still building on this holiday travel week. Southwest canceling the majority of flights today as it deals with an operations meltdown, leaving passengers stuck at airports. ABC's Sam Sweeney with more.
Southwest today has canceled 2,500 flights alone, the same number for tomorrow, and it was several thousand yesterday as well. This is a meltdown like we've never seen before.
The Biden administration saying it will investigate. Another round of lake effect snow in store for hard-hit western New York, reeling from the deadliest blizzard in at least 50 years. This is ABC News.
You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM. And that's pretty cool.
This is Pat Kreitlow from Up North News and our new early morning program heard right here on weekday mornings, Up North News Radio. We're a small but scrappy state-based newsroom that covers politics and policy, but also other stories that show off our state, its people, places, food, and much more. You can find all of that on our website, upnorthnewswi.com, or on your favorite social media site. Just search for Up North News WI. Don't forget the WI, and give us a follow. Then, from 6 to 8 a.m., we talk about those stories and much more right here on the statewide radio stations of Civic Media. We have guests, analysis, commentary, we talk music, sports, weather, and probably a few too many anecdotes about my time as a TV anchor, a state legislator, an island dweller, and now a grandpa. It's real information and good conversation that's unabashedly Wisconsin. That's Up North News Radio, weekday mornings from 6 to 8, on the radio, online, and on demand.
You wanted information as election results rolled in, and the Civic Media network of radio stations delivered it live.
I was so impressed with your coverage, and I listened to you guys, and I got all the coverage. It was amazing.
Civic Media, the only network with news reporters and show hosts stationed across Wisconsin, sharing political insight not found anywhere else. Elections or anytime, we are here for you, your local Civic Media radio stations, and streaming on the Civic Media app.
Over the past 30 years, Chad's Design Build has grown and improved how we do things, but we've never lost sight of our commitment to be a great place to work, focused on quality renovations for outstanding clients. Paying a living wage and providing excellent benefits to promote work-life balance does in fact attract outstanding people, which helps to explain our stellar reputation. Thank you, Madison, for 30 amazing years, building a better world one remodeled home at a time. This is Chad Spate for Chad's Design Build.
Salvatore's Tomato Pies, home of Madison's best farm-to-table pizza, is hiring. We are seeking line cooks, prep cooks, dishwashers, pizza makers, bartenders, servers, delivery drivers, and hosts. Sal's offers great pay, free shift meals, paid time off, and health insurance available for those working 30 hours a week. Students are welcome too. Positions available at all locations, Madison, Monona, and Sun Prairie. Stop into any location for an immediate interview or apply online at salvatorestomatopies.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates. Radio for nasty women everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. My family showed up in the studio. I got profane Kelsey signed at the door. And my son, my youngest, who looks more and more like he's got a mullet every single day. Just got his hair cut, just off the sides, but still long, business in the front, party
in the back, baby. That's the Kentucky waterfall. That's how we do it up in WisGOP.
Buddy, deceptive marketing. I mean, should this merit a recount? If you've completely lied about your resume, like you are prone to do, that's how you got on the radio.
Is that it? Oh man, no, I'm a little torn, right? I think obviously, people that stand up to run for something and they're a bunch of BS artists should not be able to do that. But I also think it's in some regard, it's on the voters, man. I mean, it's on the local media. It's on people to flush these things out. right?
Well, what are you supposed to call his university and verify whether or not he graduated? I mean, I know someone did on Scott Walker, and no, he didn't.
Well, I mean, ultimately, yes. I mean, if you think and I don't know how this goes about, but yes, I mean, certainly, if you're going to have someone coming in, I know he ran for something before and didn't win, but this, he's saying these things. Do we take everyone at their word? I mean, I guess ultimately we certainly should not. Now, should there be some? Is it against the law to say you went to and graduated from a college when you did not, and use that as information to run for public office? I don't know, man. I mean, politicians can get away with bold-faced lies. They can lie to you. It's not illegal for politicians to lie to you. So how is it any different if you want to be one of those politicians that lie to you from being a candidate who wants to lie to you?
Well, so he lied. That's the less important factor. The potential wire fraud, that would be a bigger crime, let's just say. And it seems like it's being alleged that this, Rep-elect George Santos might have committed some wire fraud things in how he committed money to his own campaign. $700,000. I mean, the job only pays $184,000, and we don't know where that money came from. And if he has misled us to where the money came from, let's say it's not his money. Let's say if they just want to prop up a Republican, he took $1 million from a third-party donor. Well, that would certainly exceed campaign limits under federal, $5,400, $2,700 in a primary and $2,700 in the general. I mean, I think you'd have a huge campaign finance violation, right?
Depends on the circumstances of the money being transferred. Was it a loan to him personally? Was it revenue to his business? It's a consulting fee, man. It's meals and entertainment, man. I mean, call it what you want.
Are we sure it's not money laundering?
Well, no, of course not. Of course we are not sure, and that's above and beyond. And I'm not going to discount the lying, man. I mean, if you're going to stand up there and, again, what do I talk about? I talk about credibility, right? Courage. These things matter, and he doesn't have any credibility. I mean, these Republicans do not have credibility, especially when you're starting out like this.
Rigged election, fake news. I mean, that's their whole mantra, dude. 844-967-2789. I promise we'll try not to lie to you. Try. Joe from Madison.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you got for us?
Throw another log on the fire here. The Daily Beast had a piece out today. The title of the piece is Russian Oligarch's Cousin Funneled Cash to New York Politician. That's Russian Oligarch's cousin funneled cash to New York politician. And the politician, of course, is Mr. Santos. It is a torturous little tale, but what you end up with is a man named Andrew Inter, who had funneled $32,000 to Mr. Santos, and he is tied in an organization that he runs called Sparrow Capital that is tied up with Victor Vekselberg, who is one of Putin's very, very good buddies.
Yep.
Aluminum. Yep, he made his money in aluminum fuel, and he's very, very wealthy.
He was going to put like the aluminum guy was going to put like a $200 million plant in Kentucky, if I recall. That was Mitch McConnell's deal. I don't know if that ever came to fruition or not. Sorry about that. You got kind of a bad line there, Joe.
Same thing I was going to say. 844-967-2789. Who could be next? Pizza Box Mike, welcome. What are you doing, fella?
Wow, funny you should ask. I'm watching True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis. Kind of cool, like perfect timing. You're talking about Santos, and he's exactly what I've been saying about Republican candidates for like several years now. The bigger the douche, the better your odds of ending up in Congress, right? And I understand what he's talking about when he the caller that said ish. That's kind of like the same thing as you. But I think in Santos' case, you is more appropriate because of his dad.
Terrible.
Pizza Box, you got anything more mature to add to the discourse today?
I didn't know this show was supposed to be about mature. I guess I can't recall again.
We'll put you in line behind Profane Kelsey.
Thanks,
844 967-2789. Quick headline, Dom. Congressman-elect George Santos admits to an astounding series of lies. This reporting, I was trying to follow the trail over to the Daily Beast. I found this there instead. Congressman-elect George Santos has admitted to a long list of lies about his background, saying, "We do stupid things in life."
Oh, yes. You know, it was the indiscretion of youth, late November when I should have was Jew-ish.
Jew adjacent. The 34-year-old New York Republican says, despite having fabricated his education, his work history, and lied about his real estate holdings and hiding a marriage, he intends to take office. What a fine example he sets for us.
I mean, actually, in that same regard, you could say that would be Trump. I mean, they're very similar vein. Santos just, too small. You got to go bigger, son.
Doing it for the children, Dom. This will not deter me from having good legislative success. I will be effective. I will be good, he told the New York Post. He will be good, Dom.
Yeah, and I am not a crook. I mean, when you got to say it, man, it's never going to be true.
Dominic, the New York Times uncovered the holes in Santos's resume. The Daily Beast found that he had been married to a woman. What? I thought he was gay. From 2012 to 2017, despite declaring that he is openly gay and never had an issue with my sexual identity in the past decade. I dated women in the past. I married a woman. It's personal stuff, Santos told the Post. I'm very much gay. I'm okay with my sexuality. People change. I'm one of those people who change. He changed many things, mostly his resume, Dom. Although Santos claims he is coming clean, he's still defending some of his howlers. He called his lie about working for Citigroup and Goldman Sachs a poor choice of words.
I mean, how about a poor choice of not actually working there? I mean, that'd be real. The reality. It's not just words, man. It's that you never actually worked there. That makes it a bold-faced lie.
Well, he worked for another company that did business with both, and he claimed a silent hyphen explains his false declaration of Jewish heritage. I never claimed to be Jewish. I'm Catholic because I learned my maternal family had a Jewish background. I said I was Jew-ish. Jewish, damn. You didn't see the silent hyphen.
Oh no, I guess I didn't see that one coming. No, but way to bring the bar even lower.
Among Santos' other belated disclosures, he never graduated from college, despite saying he had a diploma from Barrage. He did not own any property, despite bragging that he owned 13, and he still owes $12,000 in back rent. A judge ordered him to pay. Oh, I completely forgot about that, he said.
Oh, my bad.
And while he copped to many other whoppers, he denied the Times report that he faced a criminal charge in Brazil. I am not a criminal here, not here or in Brazil or any jurisdiction in the world, he told the Post. Absolutely not. That didn't happen. And, if someone should be taken at their word, Dom, it's clearly this guy.
I mean, obviously. I mean, what else are you going to take him at?
Dominic, Republicans have largely given Santos a pass on his cascade of fibs, with several noting that Senator Richard Blumenthal had been caught exaggerating his military service. But numerous Democrats have called out Santos. Rep. Ted Lieu demanding he resign, and New York State Attorney General Tish James is reportedly looking into whether any laws were broken. Here or any other jurisdiction, Dom. I'd like to party with this cowboy. He's going to be telling whoppers all night. Fish stories, nothing but fish stories. Any other thoughts on the Congressman-elect, the fine representative?
I guess there's a couple of things I would look at. Number one, if there are not laws, should there be, and what would it be, right? Do you have to attest? Did you have to sign some sort of notarized document that you claim? But again, but you don't have to be, right? If you're going to run for office, there's nothing like that you have to be qualified. You just have to meet very, very simple, basic requirements. And if after that you sell a bunch of BS to the voters, where does that go? Can he be recalled? Can he not be seated? I know there's some conversation being had in Congress about not seating this guy, but you know,
But it's all coming from Democrats. Tom, the Republicans just fine with this guy's inflated, false, made-up resume because they need the votes. Kevin McCarthy needs his vote to become speaker. So he doesn't care if he killed a guy on Fifth Avenue. This guy will be congressman-elect. He will be seated by Kevin McCarthy. Hell, he might get a committee chair.
To Joe's point, Kurt, he jumped up on the Daily Beast here. The headline here from November 30th, just last month. Russian oligarch's cousin funneled cash to New York politician. Andrew Intrider, money manager to Russian Viktor Vesselberg, gave $56,100 to committees tied to Rep-elect George DeVolder Santos, who called Ukraine totalitarian. And you can, dig on the Daily Beast. You can find this piece, and it goes into some of that background. But if we just go with what the headline says and trust our caller Joe, because we have the smartest audience in the world, wow, that's an interesting tie. So certainly it matters where the money comes from, right? If he loans $700,000 to his campaign, I mean, I think they should follow the money backwards and to see from what source that money derived. And if you have foreign influence going on, which perhaps could be the case, this is a month old now at the Daily Beast, certainly I can't imagine that can be legal in our current electoral process and system and laws.
And is the feckless FEC going to take this up, Dom? Because, I mean, look at all the different examples we know. The shadow presidential campaigns of guys like Scott Walker.
Yeah, right.
The guy was spending $40 million before he ever declared himself a candidate. So we know the FEC never held anyone accountable on that line. We've seen the prior reporting that Russia funneled $32 million through the conduit that was the NRA to recipients in the Republican Party like U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. And last time I checked, the guy was just reelected, right?
Yes.
So there's never really a consequence, even when there's allegations that this money came from foreign sources. I mean, hell, there's been convicted foreign sources of money that funneled money to the Trump campaign. We've seen the conviction of the source, but of course, no consequence for the recipient of the grandiose foreign dollars. In a federal campaign, that's, kind of not kosher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, so what is the positive thing about this guy's campaign? He's taken foreign money, according to the Daily Beast. He lied about where he worked. He lied about his assets and property holdings, and he lied about his education. I mean, literally the shortest thing on to make a list of is what has George Santos, if that's your real name, been forthcoming and truthful about?
That he's now gay post-marriage? He's changed, Dom. The man told you he changed. For the better.
How much time has to pass before an indiscretion of youth can be called an indiscretion of youth?
More time. Come back. More Devils.
Self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit managerbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
It's scary. Maybe I am coming a little bit more left, but...
Well, it's not left. It's good governance, Dave.
It's good to be exposed to different ideas, and I do appreciate that you do put that out there on the airways, because a lot of times where you just get a little soundbite of this or a little bit of that, and that's the end of it. You're to be commended for that.
Dave, I'm glad you finally come around to commending the greatest radio show ever, man.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Missed your favorite show live on air? It's easy to find what you enjoy wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And we're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app.
Here's your Devil Radio forecast. Mainly cloudy skies tonight with a low of 20. South winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. Tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 37. Lows around 34. Tomorrow night, cloudy skies expected. Low 40s Thursday with a chance for scattered rain showers. Upper 30s, sunshine mixed with clouds at times Friday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 20 degrees.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up right now. 844-967-2789.
Tom, nice to see the family. They stopped by the Solidarity Realty Studios here in Madison, broadcasting live from Devil Radio, the world headquarters. At least I'm claiming it as world headquarters. Wherever I'm sitting my ass today, it's the world headquarters. That's my claim, Dom. And you can all be a part of this big broadcast. You got one last segment of live radio, and then we're calling her quits, and then we'll do it again tomorrow. But 844-967-2789, a new favorite, Rico from Rock County. Welcome back, fella. What do you got for us?
Hey, Rico.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Hope you had a good Christmas.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Hey, wanted to comment about this Santos or whatever his name is. Okay, this guy. Oh my Lord, this guy here. I mean, in all reality, anybody else would have done this at any job in America. You would have been fired. You'd have been fired. They found out you lied that bad on your resume. Come on, give me a break. And then it's like, this guy. The thing is, he's a lightweight. He's a lightweight compared to our guy Rojo. I mean, this guy has no clue. All you gotta do is say, non-story, guys. Here, this is just non-story. This is total non-story. And hey, I was set up. I was set up by the FBI. Just giving you alternative facts, ma'am. He makes this guy look like such a lightweight. It's unbelievable.
Rico, you do a fairly good Rojo, man. You've been practicing.
Hey,
I forgot the setup by the FBI part. I mean, that's literally something the dude said. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, man. Have a good night.
Thank you, Rico.
Right, man.
Sounds like Rico's out of material.
It's pretty amazing.
Always leave him on a high note, right, Rico? 844-967-2789. I always hate to do it, Tom, when I was just flipping around to, Foxy News just to see what they got up on the digital site. And it's always like movie stars getting divorced or, something. It's never really news. It's like clickbait. And then there's some crap on Joe Biden always like, oh, wait, here it is. Biden administration's end to COVID era border security policy dealt a major blow. I can't believe that Fox News, they alternate. And if you hadn't heard the what is it called? Title 42, Dom, this Trump policy of forcing asylum seekers to wait outside the United States under the guise of it was COVID policy. This coming from the former president that, of course, discouraged masking, etc. So we knew it was malarkey. We knew it was BS from the first place. And now he's got Chief Justice Roberts putting a stay on this, Tom, basically making the Biden administration that has expressed their great desire to end this policy, they're making them continue the policy through the holidays at least, and perhaps
apparently they're going to have they're going to hear arguments in February. But briefly on that, Crudy, Matthew Chapman over at the roster reporting, ironically enough, Neil Gorsuch rails against his right-wing colleagues for ordering border expulsions, continuing. And here's what he said. Courts should not be in the business of perpetuating administrative edicts designed for one emergency only because elected officials have failed to address a different emergency. We are a court of law, not policymakers of last resort. So some interesting interesting angles coming from at least Gorsuch on this particular call.
Dom, looks like we got a few more callers at least for this big show. 844-967-2789. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Hawk, how you doing, brother?
Hey, Hawk.
Oh my God, good. By the way, your daughter calling in today was the funniest thing all day. Like, that was radio gold. You should just have have her call every once in a while. This has some fun.
You know, she lives on the leftist
Santos,
coast, Hawk, so often I have to have LA Tom check up on her and make her call home for the holidays.
Has she lost her radio privileges for 2 weeks now because she swore on air?
Well, after she swore on air, she came down to the studio and her and my son are just hanging out in the live studio with me, and I'm just thinking, if she swears again, she's out of the family, Hawk.
Did she at least bring in a Culver shake or something, like some custard to make up for it or something?
No, just warm holiday greetings, and she gave Dom the finger.
Oh my God, whatever.
Wrote half the FCC on a piece of paper for us.
I was calling about the Santos thing because Dom sort of correct. So my question is, who does Santos run against him? Did he run against a Democrat?
Yes, an actual Jewish heritage Democrat. Yes.
I blame this on whoever ran that campaign, because even if you run for some little alder in some city, the opposition will find stuff out on you. They dig up dirt. How did whoever ran against Santos is a failed campaign?
Yeah.
Right? Because they should have looked up something. You Google a couple things and all of a sudden you're like, what? So I blame all this on them, whoever that was. Right?
Well, 5 minutes in a Google account, you'll know why Dom didn't run for U.S. Senate.
Yeah, exactly.
Or state senate or dog catcher.
Because it doesn't pay enough, Hawk. Listen, but Hawk, I hear what you're saying, but I think sometimes we get caught up in the someone else will do it. It's the them or the this or the campaign or the local media. Well, campaigns are limited. Local medias they're getting killed these days. So it takes resources, it takes effort, it takes time and money to do background on these kinds of folks, man. And I can't imagine why it's not getting done. Hell, I should have run for office, Hawk.
I know, we should all run for office. Just add the resume. Why not? Why not? There's no penalty. All it happens is that you might get $750,000 from some Russian oligarch. Why not?
Why not indeed, Hawk? 844-967-2789. Dom's like, damn it, I should have run. Chrissy from Madison, welcome.
Hi, Chrissy.
You might get the last word today. What is it?
Oh, goody. Well, Happy New Year. And also, I want to suggest something I heard Randy Rhodes say. If anybody that is running or gets elected, I think she said when they get elected and put their hand on the Bible, they have to swear not to lie.
Not to lie, they'd never get
think of
elected,
that?
Chrissy.
I understand. Now, that's prior to being elected. What I'm wondering is that I haven't thought this all the way through, but what happens if we do? It looks like anything goes now. So what we have to do is make sure that, hey, you guys say something, you better back it up.
Well, Chrissy, we always do right here on the Devil's Advocates radio show. I'd put my hand on a stack of Bibles. So would Dom, but
I won't. I won't. But credibility and courage and competency, some minimal things we ask for around here.
Yeah, that's why you didn't run. Thank you all for listening. Devil's Advocates, go Badgers. Win that bowl game. Just not on the Civic Media app, so sorry.
This man, you will never know what the truth is. He lies to fit the situation he's in.
Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the